I'd like to go over some questions that talk about exponential growth and also percent increase. This question here is a multi-part question, but I'm just picking the parts that are pertaining to the topic. So first one here, a company makes these biscuits at a cost of $1.35 per packet. These biscuits are sold for $1.89 per packet. Calculate the percent profit the company makes on each packet. So percent profit. This is a percent increase problem. You can kind of tell because of the wording. Percent profit, that's percent increase. And so the formula for that you guys should have memorized if you're in an IGCSE class is change over original times 100 is equal to percent increase. Okay? Change over original times 100 is equal to percent increase. Okay, so what is the change? How much is it, do we have to add to 135 to get 189, $1.89, right? So what is the change from 135 to 189? What's the difference between those two numbers? It can go up or down. In this case, because it's a percent profit, then it's going to increase the change. But sometimes the change will be a negative value, and that's okay as well. That'll just tell you that it's a percent decrease. So this formula is very important because it covers a lot of different types of problems. All right, so the change. Let me just write it out here. So change is going to be, what we plug into this equation for change is going to be 189 take away 135. Okay, so what is that? 189 take away 135. Okay, 54 cents. Okay, and then the original value is going to be what we started with. So we started with $1.35, so it's going to be 1.35. Okay, everything else is part of the formula. We don't need to, we're going to actually figure out what the percent increase is. So everything, we just basically substitute all this stuff into that formula. So the change is 54 cents, 0.54 over 135 times 100 is equal to the percent increase. And so 0.54 divided by $1.35 divided by 1.35 times 100, it's 40. Okay, there's your answer. And so the 40 is as a percentage already, it's not as a decimal. So the answer is 40%. Okay, next one. The selling price of $1.89 has increased 8% from last year. Calculate the selling price last year. All right, so this is a problem where you have to use this formula but work backwards through it. Use this formula but work backwards through it. So, make sure I'm in frame here. Okay, so let me just color code a little bit here. So we have change over original times 100 is equal to percent increase. Okay, well, they're telling you the answer. The percent increase is 8%, so we can actually just substitute that directly into the formula. It's equal to 8. Remember, the 8 is not a decimal, it's an actual percentage. So I guess the question and the reason why I highlighted this is, well, what's the change then? Like, what is change? Because there's no two values to compare. And so that's where you have to kind of think about, well, what did we do in the previous problem? We still have the times 100, but what did we do in the previous problem? In the previous problem, we subtracted the new value minus the old value to get the actual change amount. And so let's do the same thing. The new value minus the old value. So change is equal to the new value, $1.89, minus the old value. Well, we don't know what the old value is, so that's where our variable is going to be placed. I could use O, but O for old is kind of like a 0, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just go with the old trusty X. So that's going to be the expression that represents the change. And then the original value is the old. It's like this right here. It's the X. So original is also going to be an X. So our formula is going to look something like this. $1.89 minus X all over X. Okay. I don't like having X's in my formula, so I'm going to substitute that for brackets because it's confusing to have a times sign with a variable X. And so this is just an equation that we are going to solve for X. And I'm getting low on room here, so I think I'll just carry it over on a blank piece of paper if I can find one. If I can find them. Okay, here we go. So you have an equation 1.989x minus x divided by x times 100 is equal to 8. The first thing I would try to do is get rid of that divided by x. So I have to multiply both sides by the variable x. It kind of looks like that. And so the x on the left side cancels out with the x in the denominator, and I just have $1.89 minus x times 100. Now this, if you don't see brackets in the numerator of a fraction, there's understood to be brackets. So this is still in brackets here, and that's important to know here because we're multiplying it also by 100 is equal to x times 8, which is 8x. Okay, moving up a little bit here. 100 times $1.89 is 189. I think I'll just go green now. 189. X times 100 is 100x. And then that's going to be equal to 8x. Okay. Add 100x to both sides. You get 189 is equal to 108x. And then divide both sides by 108. Get x is equal to 175. So that's $1.75. Okay, last question here, part C. Should have room here. Over a period of 3 years, the company's sales of biscuits increased from 15.6 million packets to 20.8 million packets. The sales increased exponentially by the same percentage each year. Calculate the percentage increase each year. This is tricky because percentage increase, when they use those words, you want to use the same formula we've been using. Change over original times 100 is equal to percent increase. And so you have to be kind of careful there because it's not a percentage increase formula. The percent increase formula is not an exponential one. Okay, so this one is the exponential growth formula. So that one is I equals P times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. Tricky, but that's because of the word exponentially, and they're talking about over a period of 3 years. That's kind of a hint as well that you're using this one. A period of 3 years indicates the value of time. All right, now with IGCSE, I think the N is normally, N will always be 1. If you learn this formula outside of IGCSE, you'll have to use different numbers of compounds per year. So I'm including it here as well. Okay, so I is the amount that you've earned at the end. And so in this particular case, they're telling you that the company's sales of biscuits increased from 15.6 million packets to 20.8 million packets. So that's our final value. 20.8 if we're going to keep this in millions, is going to be our final value. And then P stands for the principal, and that's the original value. And that would be 15.6 million. Okay? Times 1 plus R, which is the rate. Now, this rate here is as a decimal. It's actually preferable to use a decimal, although you have to keep track of the type of formula you're using. And so we don't know. We don't know the rate. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Calculate the percentage increase. That is what R represents. It's like like the growth rate, basically. And then the N stands for number of compounds per year. Like I said, it's going to be a 1 almost all the time if you're an IGCSE student. I don't think I've seen an exception to that. And then 1 times the time, and that's 3 years. Okay? So we have an equation here where R is kind of buried in it. That's okay. Let's start moving stuff away from that R. The first thing is that 15.6. We can divide both sides by 15.6, and we'll get 20.8 divided by 15.6 is equal to, and then what's left over on the right side here is 1 plus R divided by 1 is just R. 1 times 3 is just 3. Okay. Okay, so I have 20.8 divided by 15.6 equals 1 plus R to the third power. How do you get R by itself? Just take the cube root of both sides. Okay, so on the left side you have something kind of messy, so I'll use my calculator here. 20.8 divided by 15.6. And then I need to take the cube root of that. So that would be the equivalent of raising it to the 1/3 power. I think in this calculator it's easiest just to do that. 1/3 power. And that's 1.1006. 1.1006. I might add enough sig figs for the answer here. 1, 2, 3, I'm at least at 5. So I need at least 4 to get an answer of 3 sig figs, right? And that's going to be equal to 1 plus R. Good. Now, subtract 1 from both sides to get R by itself. So 1.1006, take away 1, is 0.1006 is equal to R. Okay? Now, don't lose sight of the problem here. They want you to calculate the percentage increase each year. So the percentage increase each year is going to be, this is a decimal, but they want the answer as a percentage. So 1.006 as a percentage would be 10.06%. You just move the decimal to the right 3 times. So your answer is going to be 10.06%.